Welcome to another episode with your host, Robert E. Hansen, psychic medium, author, and public speaker.
Hi, thanks for joining me. I'd like to share a story with you titled, The Girl They Never Knew. This story is very sensitive and very, very unsettling for some of you, so please be aware that this story is a little bit edgy. It's very beautiful, but a little heartbreaking. I did a reading for a family not too long ago. I actually had met them during an engagement in public. It wasn't a private session. It was a session held amongst many other people. And as often happens, I'm drawn to certain people at certain locations in the rooms that I visit into, the restaurants, the theaters. And I get pulled directly to a particular person or a particular family. I don't sweep a room and say, who understands what I'm talking about? That's just not my style of reading. Perhaps there are other mediums out there that seems to express that ability. I don't know. I don't work in that domain. I have to go right to the person directly. It's what I call the pull. So on this particular evening, which is not too long ago, I had a pull to a middle-aged woman, and sitting next to her was her adult daughter. Sitting next to the adult daughter was her biological sister. So there were three of them sitting there, and I'm quite confident they had come for looking to receive someone else in the session. And I always tell my guests I can't control who comes. I mean, some people come into a session with me, and they only want to hear from their grandmother or their grandfather. And if I don't mention grandmother out of my first 10 comments, they're really edgy with me. And I explain to them before we start, I can't control it. So it's very rare that I won't get who someone wants, but I don't command souls to rise on will. That's not something that is authentic, right? So I go to this particular table and I'm looking. When I say looking, it means in my mind, my head is kind of wrapping itself around what I'm seeing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this, but I'm seeing it. So I went to this family directly. And by the way, if you should ever stumble across me at a reading or in public, I always tell people, tell me nothing. The one caution I always exercise with my guests is never allow a reading or a psychic session to turn into a clever interview between a heartbroken person who's putting their trust in the medium and the medium asking 1,000 questions, which with respect, I don't particularly approve of. I think it should be very, very limited dialogue. And if the medium is really doing what they're claiming they're doing, it will be full of information, and the guest should be blown back in their chair by things that are being said. And I've seen other great mediums do that, and I hope I fall into that category for some of you. So I'm going to this guest, and I say, please listen to this story. This is heartbreaking, and I hope it's not true, but I got to give you what I'm getting. So they're looking at me, and they're not even thinking about what I was about to describe until I talked about it. And I said to the mother, the older one that came, and I said, did you walk out of your back door? You go out your back door into your backyard, an apartment house, whatever, you just go out the back door. I said, did you go out your back door and look at your trees in the back of your property? And she said, yes. I said, dear God in heaven, I said, I hope this is wrong, but did you find a child, a young teenage child, a girl, hanging from a tree? I said, I don't want to believe I'm seeing this. I said, do you understand that? And they started crying, all of them, and they said, yes. I said, oh my God. They said, we went out the back door to take care of some stuff on our lawn, and we went out and we saw this child hanging by the neck from a tree. Of course, they called the police came, and this child apparently was only 14 years old and had been abandoned by her family and was living on the streets. And somehow, somewhere, I guess her desperation got out of control. Maybe the abuse was too severe for her from someone maybe that was holding her captive. I don't know the full details of why this child took their life, but I do know that this woman and her family found this unknown child to them. They never met this child before, hanging dead in their yard. The next part I shared with them was kind of beautiful, and I'll share it with you guys, of course, and that is I said to them, it feels like this was some time ago. And they said, yes, it's over 10 years now that this happened. I said, but you continued to go to the grave and you arranged a burial site for this child, and you didn't even know this child, but you and your family arranged a funeral. You arranged to get a cemetery plot. You arranged to have this child placed in the earth with dignity. And for 10 years now, you guys have been going back and forth to this grave. Am I to understand this is correct? And then they said, we did. We knew that she was an abandoned child, and we just could not let her be buried in some nameless grave in Potter's Field. They said, we took this child into our hearts, and we made sure that she had a dignified burial. She didn't die with dignity, but we wanted to be sure she was buried with dignity. And they did that. And the whole audience went quiet, including me. And I stepped back and I said to them, it is such an honor, a blessing to meet you guys. This is the true miracle of love and compassion. And you offered it to this abandoned child who had no way out but through death. And you took that to your hearts and souls. And to this day, you take care of this child's grave. And they said, yes, we do. The thank you letter that I gave them from me personally, but the gratitude of this child's soul that came through right to these people directly, had everyone moved to silence and tears. It was just stunning. So I wanted to share this with you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too emotional for you. Thank you for joining me.